Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to the Digitally Uploaded Podcast, the companion podcast for digitallydownloaded.net. My name is Alan. I'm going to be your host this week. With me is the editor-in-chief of digitallydownloaded.net and also the owner of the digitallydownloaded.net Redbubble store, which you should all check out. Easy plug, easy money.
Yes, thank you, Alan. I appreciate that. That was really nice of you. It's good stuff. Yeah. Buy all my stuff. Well, not all my. It's not my stuff personally. It's like
buy
digitallydownloaded.net stuff.
Buy his house. You can buy Matt's house on Redbubble. Also, Harvard's here. He was chuckling in the background, being a little chuckling Charlie.
Yeah, hello. Chuckling's what I do.
Yeah, it's what he does. I don't know why I'm going at you with chuckling Charlie. Yeah, right. Well on me. All right, and also hello, Trent.
Hello. We got no abuse, no random intro. Just hello, Trent. You've been here too often. Yeah.
Hello, Trent.
Okay.
Ask Trent about snowball fights.
Trent, what's the deal? Sorry. Okay. What's the deal with snowball fights?
Wait, is there a new game with a snowball fight? I can't remember if that's now relevant.
No, I mean, but it's like every time that this podcast happens, there has to be one snowball fight reference, so like it's fine.
Yeah, but we've got many topics which Matt will somehow talk about Final Fantasy, and because we're going to start talking about Final Fantasy, I'm going to be like, well, even though it's irrelevant to what we're talking about, I'm going to talk about Tactics, and Tactics is the best game in Final Fantasy, and Tactics Advance, not the original Tactics, got to be right, and then we talk about the snowball scene, which is a pinnacle of art.
I mean,
we got that out of the system good and early.
If you want me to do it more naturally, I can talk about how I'm playing 12 at the moment.
Because we've already done this.
Go in hard and go in with zero plan. Just be like, you know what? That snowball scene. Hell yeah, brother. Yeah. Anyway, it is a new month, obviously, which is why you're probably listening to this podcast. And there are some things that are coming out, so we're going to head right into that right away. I'm going to pick the Miku music this week because I don't care, and Nat cannot stop me.
Actually, it's secretly he loves the Miku music now. It's his thing, and yeah.
Do you want the real reason why I'm doing this? Because I don't have to download anything else. And welcome back. So, it is a new month, like we've established before. It is April. I had to remind myself it was April because, frankly, time is a construct at this point, and I don't understand it anymore. But new month means new stuff, and new stuff means good. I like new stuff. Nothing says good like rampant consumerism. So, yes. We have some new games coming out. There's actually some absolute bangers in it this month. This month is going to be good. And I'm also counting like the 30th onwards to be this month too. So, you know. But yeah, Matt, do you want to go through the list? Let's go through the list. Let's do it.
There's going to be an awful lot of stuff to consume this month.
I can't wait to just
we're going to be
look
tired.
forward to the next product and then buy next product and then start looking forward to next product.
Yeah, it's going to be a tiring month. I'm going to be tired. I'm going to be very cranky at the end of this month because I'll be playing too much stuff. But it's good stuff, I think. The stuff is very worthwhile playing stuff. So we'll start. The first stuff is Outriders. That comes out on the 1st of April. That is a Squeenix Western-style game, a 1 to 3 player co-op RPG. I don't know how you do co-op when it's one player. Like, who are you co-oping with? But anyway, that's what they described it as.
Your own existence. You are playing with yourself.
Yes, you would be Outriders, where you can co-op with, you can play with yourself.
There's a little game called Outriders.
Yeah, you can play one-handed. It's fine.
Outriders is a I didn't know you were playing my games these days, Alan. Outriders is a 1 to 3 player co-op RPG shooter set in an original, dark, and desperate sci-fi universe, which sounds like 90% of the other games out there. But who knows? This one might be good. Anyway, it's out on the 1st.
Does this one have bonfires? It probably
know.
Has bonfires. I assume it's got bonfires. If it's describing itself like that, that is a bonfire game.
Yeah, there will be bonfires, but there'll be multiplayer bonfires. You can share your bonfire with other people.
You know what would work as a multiplayer game if they did a snowball scene.
And moving
on. Next up, we have Oddworld Soulstorm. That comes out on April 6th. I haven't played an Oddworld game in like 60 years, but who knows? Maybe I'll play that one. Lost Worlds Beyond the Page comes out on April 6th. And also Star Wars Republic Commando comes out on April 6th. Is that like a remake?
Yo! That is a good game. That is... that's like an old school shooter before they started being really boring.
Cool.
They do like Metroid Prime Visor stuff.
Cool.
And you play as a Republic Commando, which is the only cool stuff from the prequel trilogies, apart from I am the Senate. And
Jar Jar Binks. He was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's sick, Matt. All right, cool. Good take. That's the best take I've heard.
Have that take.
Yeah, no, that's the thing that's gonna jokify me today.
I've always wondered like if there is an actual Jar Jar Binks fan group out there, and they're just like,
there's gotta be some.
There's got to be some out there, right?
I like how you went for someone. I went for some freak.
Moving on. April 6th, there is Luck Slinger, which is a hip-hop infused spaghetti western.
That game is awesome. No, okay. I reviewed this game back in like 2014 or 13. It is very good.
Okay. Well, it's coming out on PlayStation 4, Alan.
Hell yeah, dude.
Wait, 4, not 5. 4.
Yeah, it's also on 5.
Well, it'll be also... Yeah, you'll be able to play it on 5 as well. But yeah, April 6th, Luck Slinger, a hip-hop infused spaghetti western. That'll be cool, I guess. Alan says it's good, so I believe him. Believe it or not, I actually believe Alan sometimes, and I believe him. He says that this one's good.
I said that Pathologic was good, so Matt now trusts me.
I do. You converted me on your tasting games. On April 8th, we've got a game called What the Dub coming out, which is a collection of really bad B movies, and it's like a multiplayer kind of quiz game, and you've got to figure out what the thing that's been said is, apparently. So
that sounds really fun, actually.
Yeah, if you're into your B-grade horror movies or other awful B-grade movies, then you'll enjoy that one, and I am definitely one of those people. So I'm looking forward to that, believe it or not. I'm going to play it. That comes out on April 8th. April 13 brings us Poison Control, which is a shooter meets action title with a grim yet charming, I don't know how you be grim yet charming, but there you go, a grim yet charming art style. It's an anime game, but it looks good. It looks really good. I'm looking forward to it. It's not an Alan thing, I don't think, but I don't think it's fan service.
You're not online enough for it. You don't understand. You can be grim and charming.
I don't think this is a fan servicey one. I think it's just a straight down the line one, but it does look pretty good.
Who's making it?
I have no idea. I actually don't know.
Oh. It is very much a 2 words together game.
Poison Control. There you go. The box art has a lot of pink on it, which is cool. Moving on. April 15, Saga Frontier Remastered Lands. I'm looking forward to that. That's a PlayStation Saga game, and I actually haven't played it, but I want to, so I'm gonna. That's the thing. I'm gonna play it. You can't stop me. April 16, MLB The Show 21 comes out. Now, I like my baseballs. That's my favorite.
That'll be good.
That's my favorite of the Yankee sporting games. That's the one that Sony makes. But this year it's also on Xbox because otherwise Sony would have lost the MLB show. So Sony's making games for Xbox now. That's pretty funny. But yeah, the game should be good. I really have enjoyed the last couple of MLBs, so I think that I will enjoy this one as well.
One day, my dream of a cricket game having the same budget as MLB The Show or any other, like, sports game, like, that will happen one day, and I'm very excited for it. And
yeah,
I'm holding you personally accountable for it.
As much as I would like to talk about cricket games, we can't, Alan. Moving on.
But I'm holding you accountable regardless.
Moving on. Atelier Mysterious Trilogy Deluxe Pack comes out on April 22. That is the 3 in the Dusk series, Sophie, Ferris, and Lady. And that comes out, on 22nd for PS4 and Switch. Mostly I'll be picking it up on the Switch because Sophie and Ferris haven't been released on the Switch as yet. That's cool if you like your Atelier games. Moving on. Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife comes out on April 22. That's a VR horror game. And I'm going to assume here that it's based on the kind of the World of Darkness, because Wraith the Oblivion is a World of Darkness property. So just like Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf the Apocalypse, now we're going to have Wraith the Oblivion. Cool. Now here's the big one. Here is the huge one, the massive one. April 23 brings us NieR Replicant version 1.22474487139.
No, okay. We need to stop before we go any further. That is Yoko Taro taking the piss.
Oh, he totally is. Everything about what Yoko Taro does is taking the piss. That's the point. That's why it's great.
We can sit here and make fun of like stupid names, right? We can sit here and be like, oh yeah, Krazoa, the spirit of the demons, is like a bad name. NieR Replicant 1.6969xdxd ja is like the funniest name I've ever heard in my life, and I love it. Good on him for doing it. I am so sorry for their marketing team.
But putting aside the naming thing, I actually have been playing it. I can't talk about it because as we record this, it's still under embargo, but by the time the podcast is live, the embargo will have lifted. And
question. Do you like the NieR game?
Do I like the greatest video game of all time? Yes, Alan, I do like the greatest video game of all time.
If you like Death Stranding,
he's going to like the game.
I am so enthusiastic about this game. I like this game. It is making me very happy to play, but also very reflective because it is a very intelligent game. It's a game for smart people, is the thing.
And also, if you like titties.
It's not that bad. I mean, it has the one character.
Are there robots in this one still? Wait.
No,
you don't. No, don't spoil.
I can't talk about this one. There are no robots in this one, Trent. This is not NieR Automata. This is NieR Replicant version 1.22474487139. They're different games.
Are they still the tree?
This isn't.
Are they on the same planet? I don't know anything about this game.
It is based in the same universe, but it's based in the same universe. It's like 2,000 years apart, though. So it's just entirely different game. It was. I mean, everybody knows that NieR was a game that catastrophically failed when it first released. The developer that made it closed up shop as a result of it, and virtually no one played it because Square Enix never even bothered to put it on the PlayStation Store for download. So the fact that this is coming out now, that gives you a chance to finally discover this brilliant game that led to NieR Automata being also very brilliant. So yes, look forward to it.
Well.
Play it.
The game journalism industry is also responsible for that game dying because people played the first playthrough and then said, bad game not smart, very generic, bad game. And then
I very very nearly missed it myself because
you nearly missed it.
Yeah, the reviews put me right off it because they was getting like 5s and 6s everywhere, and I just wasn't going to play it. But then I got it really cheap at an EB Games. It was like $10, and I picked it up just on a whim because I needed something to play, and I put it into my PS3 disc slot. And within all of 2 seconds, I realized, well, this game is pretty brilliant, and what the hell were all those critics saying? So, yeah, they were wrong.
That's what happens when you don't like play a game to its point of completion.
But even the first playthrough, it's just there's a lot to it that's really worth thinking about and talking about and enjoying and stuff. So the only thing that put people off legitimately was it played like crap.
It
didn't play very well, but I haven't played the original NieR for many years, but this one is playing really well, so I assume they've fixed it up somehow.
Because they made it a game. They made it fun
Anyway,
to kill the...
We have a section just on NieR this podcast anyway, don't we?
Yeah, they're going to fix the one big problem the game has, and everything else about it remains the same. So there you go. It's going to be brilliant. Play it April 23. It's the best game of all time. Moving on.
Yeah, we don't need to do this right now.
There's actually not much else coming out on PlayStation 4 this month. Terra Trilogy comes out on April 27. I don't know what that is at all. It's a trilogy.
Terra Trilogy?
It's a trilogy.
Terra Digna and Soul Blazer?
It is 3 full games in one package that pay homage to classic and retro arcade of the 1980s. So there you go.
Sad.
Finally, on the month, R-Type Final 2 comes out on April 30.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I like R-Type, so I'll give it a go. And
Can we just also please give a shout out to my poor sweet boy Disco Elysium, because it's banned in Australia. So any Australian people, I'm sorry, you can't play a game. It's too hot for you.
You can't talk about it. The cops gonna come, man.
But we're going to talk about that later on. I will quickly flag...
The UK is already arresting me as we speak.
I will quickly flag that if you are saving your pennies for one game next month and you are into your horror games, then you may want to just save through the month, because May 7, we'll talk about it next month, obviously, but May 7, there's Resident Evil Village. So it's kind of at the end of April, but that's another big one to look forward to through the month. Now, moving on to PlayStation 5.
Switch. Oh,
no, PlayStation 5. There are. So Disco
Wow.
Elysium comes out on March 30, and that's the one that Alan was talking about, blah, 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 blah. MLB The Show comes out also on PlayStation 5 on April 16. You can play it in HDs with big balls. Judgment comes out on April 23.
Yo, there's in like the you mean the Yakuza game that's not Yakuza?
Yeah, exactly, that one. It's great. It's actually very good. Actually kind of got overlooked in the end because it wasn't Yakuza, but it is Yakuza.
Which is such a weird thing to say about a series like Yakuza. A game notoriously ignored in the West until like 4 years ago.
I know. But it's weird. I do think Judgment got overlooked a bit because it just didn't have the name Yakuza on it. But hopefully
Judgment is like the best Yakuza game, though. It goes 0 Judgment, then 7, then 6, then the rest.
Yeah, not actually that far. He's actually not that far off. It is actually a very good game. Very, very good. So hopefully it gets a bit more attention this time around, because nobody's got... It's the only game that comes out in like a whole week and a half on the PlayStation 5. So there you go. It's got some runway to work with. Returnal comes out on April 30.
Yo, that game looks really cool. That is a game that I think everyone is sleeping the fuck out on, because it is... Yeah, it's like a roguelite game with a shit ton of budget.
Yeah, a roguelike third-person big-budget game to survive on a hostile planet that changes each time you play. I'll give it a go, let's face it.
Yeah, I'll probably buy it, honestly.
I'll give it a go.
Maybe in like a year I'll buy it.
I'll give it a go. I don't know when I'll give it a go, but I will. That's the thing. And then Terminator Resistance Enhanced. I don't even know.
That's also a good game. That is a better Fallout game than Fallout 4.
Was it?
Yeah, it's like a weirdly low-budget Fallout game.
I never even knew it existed. I don't know why. I missed it completely.
Yeah, it came out like the week after Dark Fate came out. And it's better than Dark Fate, and also better than basically every Terminator media since...
I just had no idea it existed, so I'll give it a go.
It has a very awkward sex scene, though.
Yeah, but I like that.
Life imitates art, eh?
Oh, hello, Alan. That's a bit cruel. What do you know?
I could not stop myself. I saw it and I had to go for it. I'm so sorry.
Moving back to Terminator, if you do have the PlayStation 4 version, you get a free upgrade too, so there you go. That's cool.
I'm so sorry.
Gonna take this offline, Alan.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself.
The Switch. What have we got coming out on the Switch? We've got A Long Way Down, comes out on April 1. A mashup between RPG and deck building game. So there you go. It's a card game. Cool. Stick Fight, the game, comes out on April 1. There's an awful lot of games that come out on Switch, and awful lot of them seem to be very crapware.
missed a really good opportunity to be like, there's an awful lot of games on Switch, and a lot of them are awful.
Yeah. One that I am looking forward to on April 1, and you can go and check out the little kind of teaser video on the Switch right now, which I did yesterday, and realised that I'm quite looking forward to playing it. Train Station Simulator comes out on April 1. So in that game, you build a train station up, basically, and it's a simulator. But it looks pretty cool, and I do like my simulators. I'm right into them thanks to A-Train and various other things that I've been playing, so I'll give that a go.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I'm glad that sort of game exists because it is so niche that, like, I like that people get joy from them. It makes me happy to know they exist.
Yeah, exactly. And if you get into a simulator, if that is your genre, then each one of those games lasts you for like dozens and dozens of hours. And the nature of those games are they're just kind of hobbies into themselves. So yeah, I'm hoping that one is up there with the quality of the likes of A-Train, because I'm about 80 hours into A-Train now and I still barely scratch the surface of it.
That is a lot for you as well. That's substantial.
I can't stop playing the thing. Like every night I'm there playing it for 2 or 3 hours before I go to sleep. It's just I can't stop playing it. It's crazy how much it's hooked me in, because it's just so dense. There's so much to it. Moving on. We're talking about games next month, not games I'm playing right now. Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 4 comes out on April 9. So, yeah. I mean, it's a great game. It'd be nice if the Switch had the first two, the 4 games, because you kind of need to play them all back to back.
I find that really weird that they would release the 3rd and the 4th, but
different publisher.
Oh.
So Xseed published the first 2, and Nippon Ichi published the second 2. And Nippon Ichi is the one that's releasing them on the Switch, and Xseed hasn't. So yeah, you can play 3 and 4 as of April 9 on the Switch, but you can't play the first 2, which is again a bit pointless because you kind of have to play all 4 of them because they all are direct sequels to one another. So if you don't play the first 2, you're missing out on an awful lot of context, unfortunately. But it is an excellent game. So if you do have the first 2 on some other platform and want to play the second 2 on the go, then you'll be able to then. Poison Control also comes out on Switch on April 13. Great. Cool. And so does Saga Frontier. So that's what I'm going to be playing it on. What else we got? Reign on Your Parade is a slapstick comedy game. Let's not talk about that. That doesn't seem good. Godstrike, no, doesn't seem good. Dragon Audit, no, doesn't seem good.
Okay, I will make fun of Japanese games for having like ridiculously long, confusing names. But when your game's name is named Godstrike, like that's
doesn't really tell you.
Godstrike is actually gonna be good though, guys. Come on, is it like a top-down shooter that's very boss focused?
Oh, is it like Fury?
Something like that.
It's not Fury though, so I'm not interested.
The Atelier Mysterious Trilogy Deluxe Pack comes out on April 22, so you can play your Ateliers on the go, like I said earlier, which is good because 2 of them haven't been released previously, so you'll be able to fill in that collection. On April 27, Death End Request comes out on Switch. That was on PlayStation 4 previously. That's a Compile Hearts special, but it is actually very good, even though Alan will never touch it. It is very good.
Well, there's a lot of things that I won't touch.
You won't touch that one.
I'm not going to touch that one.
No, you're not going to touch that one. I didn't realize that comes out in April. There you go. On the Switch, the big one in April is new Pokemon Snap. Oh my god, that's another game I'm going to have to add to the pile. Shit.
It'll be quick, I think. Doesn't seem like a big game.
Yeah, those games are like not long.
Yeah,
I said those games. I mean that game is not long.
Except it's just if it's anything like the previous Pokemon Snap on the N64, that was a long time ago. I'm going to end up spending dozens of hours anyway because I've just got to get the best Pokemon photos there is. So, yeah. I love Pokemon Snap. I loved it. I cannot wait to play this, even though I don't have the time for it, and it's going to drive me nuts. I can't wait.
It has all the new Pokemon, doesn't it? Like, it's not just a remake. It has everything.
Yeah, it's a new game.
Yeah, it's an all-new game. So
it's got everyone's favorite, Garbodor. And also,
I have a funny story about it, actually.
The keychain Pokemon, and also the one that's a rock. Tell me which one I'm talking about. You can't because there's like 17 Pokemon that are just rocks.
What about the ice cream? The ice cream's good.
Yeah, but at least like, ever thought about melting him just in front of everyone and just laughing?
I hope
other Pokemon.
I hope the duck is in there. I hope Farfetch'd is in there and he's got a leak.
Psyduck.
Oh, you mean the blue duck? Not Farfetch'd?
No,
That's
not
Rowlet.
not
There's more ducks
Psyduck.
now.
Golduck, you fool.
No, not Golduck, the new one from the new game. It's a little bird.
I mean,
Rolets. Or Ducklets.
Ducklet.
Oh, Ducklet! Ducklet is so cool. Thank you for reminding me about Ducklet. I love Ducklet.
What's your
My
favorite?
anecdote about Pokemon Snap is that I saw the trailer and there was a toucan in it, and I wasn't even sure if it's a Pokemon or just literally a normal
just a
human
toucan.
toucan.
Oh, Piplup is in this one. That's right. There's Piplups. Piplup is the best Pokemon.
Oh, that's like the shitty penguin, right?
Excuse me. He is the best of the all-starter Pokemon in all the history of Pokemon.
But see, I don't respect any Pokemon that can't roll around, because you look at something like Electorb and it not like what Voltorb, they're all the same at this point, and it just rolls around, and I like that and I respect it. Then you have Spheal, who is a sphere but also a seal, aka the best name pun I've ever seen in my life, and he just rolls, and I like it.
Okay, I'm going to tell you my story about Piplup, Alan. You're going to listen. So first time
You're going to listen.
First time I went to Japan, like this is the very first time, 11, 12 years ago now. I was still a pretty junior journalist, so I didn't have much money at all. Like my income was terrible. And the first time, obviously, I wanted to go and see a Pokemon Center. So we went along to the Pokemon Center, and there was this massive Piplup, stuffed Piplup, that I just had to buy. And I took him up and I bought him. And it was like my budget for 5 days of the trip. In one go, and yeah, I didn't have much to do for the next couple of days, but I had my Piplup, so that's my Pokemon story. And I can't wait to take photos. I can't wait to take photos of the Piplups. I still have that big Piplup stuffed.
I was gonna say, like, did you keep it?
Yeah, of course. Getting him back was a bugger though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because everyone I've heard who's like bought a stuffed thing and had to bring it back on a plane has described how it's the worst experience of their life.
We're just trying to fit it into the suitcase. I think I actually left some clothes in Japan because I just didn't have room in the suitcase otherwise.
All I'm thinking of right now is those like images of like the vacuum sealed bags, but it's like just a Piplup that's been like thrown into one of those and just sucked.
Matt, I'm sure this is a very sentimental story for you, but when you introduced it, it genuinely sounded like you were lost at sea and a Piplup came and saved you.
Well, that would be pretty cool too. Maybe that can happen in Pokemon Snap out, Harvard. You never know.
Yeah, Alan.
I just want Politoads. Politoads everywhere.
Politoad is like the weird one who looks like he's like constantly high, right?
It's green
That's a lot of them.
But
That's like 90% of the
Appleton,
Pokemon.
like
though.
the apple pie Pokemon. That would be fun.
Apple pie? What are you? What?
Wait, have you not played
the new
England Pokemon, Alan?
No, because I have self-respect and I didn't want to play the game.
It's like the best Pokemon since Black and White.
I have not played Pokemon since Emerald, and the only Pokemon I respect is Muk.
You should play England Pokemon. You'll laugh at how England it is.
Yeah, but will I get stabbed outside of a Pokemon Center? Because that's not real if it's not in there. I demand a shanking.
Moving on, we've got to keep things rolling. Alan, you get one game. Pick one game.
NieR. It's
Okay,
NieR.
cool. Yeah, I figured as much. Trent, you get one game. Pick one game.
I'm gonna probably play NieR.
Yep, cool.
Yeah.
Harvard, you get one game. Pick one game.
Saga Frontier.
You piece of shit.
I mean, it's good. It's good at all Harvard, but it's not NieR. So I think we're all pretty much in agreement. NieR's the one. So
Well, there's no other games this month. It's like
I'm going to edit Harvard's voice out of that sentence. just replace it with my own saying NieR.
Yeah.
It's like that Simpsons joke with Mr. Black. Yeah, NieR's pretty good.
NieR, music from NieR, and then we'll come back and talk about other stuff.
1995, November 3rd. Everyone's afoot. The game is the hand. Many people have lost their lives, but in the darkness of it all, one thing stands tall. This is video games. It's mystery video. The theme of this segment is mystery video games. Hooray.
Nice.
Yeah.
Stuck at
Natural.
landing.
Yeah, no, that's what they call the old twist 1.2. Wait, no, 1.2 point. I don't know. The landing when they twist. You know the one where they twist, they do the twisty twist, and they land on the feet, and they go, yeah, and everyone's like, wow, that's
Are you
what
talking
that.
about gymnastics?
Look, at this point, I don't even know what I'm talking about.
We're talking about
But
mystery
yes.
games.
Mystery games and gymnastics. There's a
Oh, this is
combination.
mental
I never thought we would get into, but there you go. We've actually
Yeah.
managed to. We've
That
managed
is
to
the
hit.
of this podcast is that I'm able to take a concept like doing a noir intro and cock it up so hard that it makes a little bit of sense again. It's really a mystery all along.
Oh, well
Anyway,
done,
mystery
Alan.
games.
Mystery games. Mystery games are good, right? They're fun.
Yeah.
I like it when I don't understand what's happening. I like it when I can see FK in the coffee, and I like that bit.
That's a
That's my
very
own-
niche reference. I don't think you need to explain that one.
No, I think people might know it. I think that game is big enough now. I think so.
For those
I
playing at
know,
home, he's talking
I'll
about Deadly
defend myself.
Premonition.
I think Deadly Premonition is well enough known that I can say FK in the coffee and have people be like, he's a gamer. He.
It's probably the original Deadly Premonition, but like I was still thinking it, so I still win. That's okay.
But yeah, mystery games.
So
That
I'm
was a-
confused. Are we talking about games that have mystery as part of the narrative, or games that try to systemize the act of solving a crime?
Well, I mean, mystery can be a pretty broad thing, right? Like, it can be a whole bunch of different directions, whether it's solving actual like crimes or I guess that these days mystery is a pretty broad genre like in literature and film and whatever. So I guess it's doing that in video games as well.
Yeah,
But
because I remember you had this chat about how video game genres primarily are about gameplay systems, but there's slight exceptions when it comes to narrative.
yeah, I mean, definitely mystery is one of those rare genres where the genre itself is the theme rather than the mechanics. And we certainly see when it comes to mystery games, they can be all kinds of different things. Like, which is, I mean, there's stuff like Alan Wake has a strong mystery element to it, I guess.
That's more of a thriller, though, I'd say.
Well, mystery and thriller go together pretty closely, wouldn't you say? Like,
Yeah.
even in cinema as well, the whole noir thing was very close to thriller in tone as well. Not necessarily supernatural, but it was certainly kind of thriller dramas.
Yeah, no, I would say that I would more closely associate the mystery genre with something like Murdered Soul Suspect. Was that the name of that game? The game where you play as a ghost?
Oh, that was that's a
It was
weird
kind of
one to
jank, but it had
remember.
some really good ideas.
Yeah, it's a
We
weird one
really
to
forgot
remember.
that game.
It was actually pretty good. I actually quite enjoyed it. It wasn't a great gameplay game, but it was a
Yeah,
interesting.
Not fun to play.
Yeah, but it definitely had an interesting narrative and design, and I thought that was quite an interesting effort. I don't know. I guess I quite like mysteries when I think the natural fit for the mystery genre is probably the visual novel, and I don't just mean the ones that Alan's probably thinking about, but there is.
The mystery should not be what color are my underwear.
But you're talking about the Ace Attorney games. They're kind of mystery, aren't they?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
no,
absolutely,
mystery.
that's extremely correct. You're right.
But it's a kind of court case drama in that case. There's a really good one. If you haven't played it and you like Phoenix Wright, you would enjoy this one too, I would imagine. Jake Hunter, Alternate Jake Hunter, came out on the Switch 2 years ago, I think. And yeah, that one it kind of stuck in my memory as one that I really thought is a good example of mystery done well in a video game.
I hear that name pretty often, and that just sounds stupid. Too stupid for me.
Yeah, I
Alternate
think
Jake Hunter.
I think the worst
Yeah.
thing about that name is that in an Australian accent, it sounds really bad.
Jake Hunter's back again. He's got some
Don't say it like that.
yeah, it totally sounds like Crocodile Dundee, doesn't it? Like it's just.
No, that's not why I'm saying it's bad.
I know, Alan, but I was
It's
trying
okay,
to
for
move the
Australians the word
podcast
isn't offensive.
to something a little bit less.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
I think Jake
mystery
Hunter
visual novels. I think if you haven't played it, then the Nonary game series, so 999 and Virtuous Last
Yeah.
Reward, and whatever the last one is called that no one likes, those three are really good series. I like them significantly more than Danganronpa, which is I'm sure Matt will talk about later. But I like the way that the plot twists account for the player choices, so you feel much, much more involved. You feel like you're trying to solve the problem instead of just watching a Humphrey Bogart on the screen trying to solve the problems. You know, I think that's what the strength of visual novels give, is that it can present the story to you and then ask you, how do you get out of the situation?
Well,
Yeah, I
I mean,
think
have you
that's-
guys played have you played the Cthulhu games, the new ones, the two new ones, the Sinking City and Call of Cthulhu?
No, I've heard weird stuff about the Sinking City, so I haven't bought it.
Sinking City didn't really do it for me, but I thought the other
It's a
one was
weird
very.
game. It's very jank, but it's pretty cool.
But I thought Call of Cthulhu was a very good one. Oh yeah, I really enjoyed Call of Cthulhu. That's a good example because
Also pretty mystery.
they are very mystery. They're obviously supernatural horror as well, but they certainly have that quality about them. And I don't know if it was just because, I mean, obviously Lovecraft games and Lovecraft aesthetics and whatever is very closely tied to Lovecraft himself even these days. Like even with all the different authors trying to put their own spin on it, it's still Lovecraft is Lovecraft, if you know what I mean. But
Yeah,
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, that his work is definitely horror, but it just has this underlying mystery theme about it. And I don't know if it's just because that was the time he was writing, because he was writing about the same time as Raymond Chandler for similar publications. I think it was just a time where that mystery element kind of infused an awful lot of authors, I think. So, yeah, I definitely think that stories and aesthetics that come out of the kind of the 20s, 30s, 40s is my kind of thing when it comes to mystery.
yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Raymond Chandler as well, and The Big Sleep and Noir, and I wish that more games did that because there's not that many that do Noir really well.
I've always
not
loved that
many.
sort of genre. I mean, LA Noir was fantastic at just like having that same exact sort of feeling, and that was fantastic. I really loved that game. Also, Australian made, so
Oh,
heck
true,
yeah,
I missed
dude.
that game. That was a good game that didn't
It's worthwhile
get
playing.
You can get it on your Switch now. It's been remastered.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
actually, honestly, it holds up way better than you'd think because the facial recognition stuff is so revolutionary that it still looks better than most stuff done today.
It
Like,
does, but when you play it, you can feel
really
the
good.
crunch. You can
Oh.
actually palpably feel how much stress the developers were
I
in.
mean, you drive in the open world and it just does not work as well as you'd think it should. And you can feel that they tried as hard as they possibly could to make it open world, but they just could not do it in the time that they had.
Yeah, and
But-
like if you're ever off the main narrative, the game just crumples away.
Yeah.
But to go back
Just
to what you
makes
said
you-
earlier, Harvard, about when you play mystery games, you like to kind of feel like you've got the agency to solve the mystery. That's something I've thought about quite a lot because, yeah, it's an interesting one to me. I've been playing through, or I've reviewed this week, a game called Root Film, which is it's kind of a sequel to Root Letter, but not really. It's just set in the same prefecture in Japan, but the stories are completely unrelated to one another. But there's not much agency in that one in terms of being able to solve the mystery yourself. It kind of plays through in a very linear fashion, and you're kind of following along with the plot more so than being involved with it solving. And I've realized that I'm not against that idea either, because
It's like a roller coaster, you know.
I mean, the
you ride
thing
it
is-
and you get the same ending regardless. That's pretty cool. It's
the thing
fun.
is that I guess there is still agency in the sense that you're trying to guess what's going to happen before it actually happens. It's the same appeal to watching a mystery on in the cinema or reading a mystery book, that you are still trying to solve it before the author solves it for you, if that makes sense. But there is, for me, I think that the issue is when a game developer has to give you agency to solve the mystery, I often wonder if they have to compromise on how clever they can be with that mystery, if that makes sense, because if it becomes too complex, then will the player be able to solve it and move on?
Oh, I have an interesting different style of design, but it might diverge a lot from what you were thinking about. So there's two indie games that do this really well. One is called The Shrouded Isle, and one is called The Church in the Wild. And they both have slight execution issues, but the way they both work is they have characters who have randomly generated personalities that the player doesn't know. And so it's kind of like a deductive game. As you play, you try to figure out what the narrative is being, well, what the hidden narrative of the game is, and it's always different every time. And your actions should vary depending on who you're trying to engage with and what you're trying to achieve, depending on whether the person you're talking to is a cultist or trying to break out of the system or something like that. So that's a different way of approaching narratives. But I think
that is such a cool idea.
It is. I wish that someone would do that correctly. Maybe that.
Oh gosh, guys, you have how can you have missed my review of Nausea? How can you have missed it? That's exactly what you're looking for, I think, Harvard.
Sounds just like Danganronpa, though, like how like your favorite character will always die, sort of
no,
thing.
But Danganronpa's like very railroaded though. Like it's always clear who's good and who is bad. Whereas these,
what? No, it's not. No.
No, I mean,
have you
when
actually
you finish
played a
playing, right?
Danganronpa?
You don't do another run where the other dude's bad.
Oh no.
I think the original is probably pretty clear who, like, a lot of them are very stereotypical, and you're like, okay, well, this person fits this mold, so they're obviously evil or gonna be like a, antagonist at some point, or this person's obviously batshit crazy. Like that's like, I feel like the original's more so that, like the other one's a little bit more developed, but I don't know. I feel like you can easily pick out tropes in Danganronpa.
Yeah, and I think that's the intention with that kind of game. They really leaned into tropes and were aware that people would enter the game with those assumptions about certain stereotypical characters.
Yeah, I think so. They're definitely playing on that. And a big part of the mystery was, with Danganronpa, a big part of the mystery was really just kind of trying to understand what was going on rather than who done it. It was more understanding why they were there and, how, what purpose they were all playing, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, but to go back to Nausea, so that game, to quickly explain it, you're basically, or your whole team is, or you wake up on this space station. You've got amnesia, so you don't exactly know why you're there, and so on and so forth. There's a trope. It's a tropey start. Wait.
Among Us, I'm going to be really angry at you.
Well, it is very much similar to Among Us, but it has a much. No. But it's not multiplayer, so you don't have other people ruining the experience for you. It's very much more. But you kind of have to work out who on the ship is going to betray you all, who's the kind of wolf in sheep's clothing kind of story. And the experience is very much about you asking questions, figuring out who does what and stuff. I highly recommend Nausea. It's difficult to explain in a short couple of words, but I did a stream on it. Check that out. That'll explain everything about it. But yeah, that kind of mystery is interesting to me as well. It's not a detective mystery as such, but I do think it involves the same mental processes. And
it's almost like it's a carryover from like those like deductive puzzle games, and I really liked those as a kid, and I want that to be like more of a thing. It's fun. It's cool.
It just goes to show kind of how broad this genre is, that mystery.
Yeah.
There's just so many different angles that developers can take, and I don't think there's one right way to do mystery.
I mean, there's a million ways to skin a cat,
Yeah, but there's look at some other genres, and there's certainly right ways to go about doing a platform, for example. Certain expectations that you need to meet with RPGs, but I think mystery is just one of the most vibrant genres.
Persona 4 is technically a mystery.
It is.
Yeah.
Among other things.
Yeah. I mean, like, imagine if Persona 4 just
among being a waifu simulator.
Among the first, like, evil dude you find. Imagine if Persona 4 just ended at the gamer dungeon. Like that was the end of the game because of your choices.
That's one of my favorite things about Persona 4 is just how many red herrings a game has.
I would love the option to end the game with just leave Nanako in the TV. That would be my.
You are a
I would
evil
do that.
man. You are an evil man.
Rid the world of the most annoying little sister ever.
I guess the cool thing about like mystery games is they usually lend themselves more to experimental stuff, like especially the more when they're visual novels, like stuff like back in the day of the DS, you had stuff like Another Code and Hotel Dusk, and more particularly Another Code.
Hotel Dusk. Yeah.
Another Code pioneered a lot of the, because it was a really early DS game, but it pioneered a lot of the stuff the DS did in terms of, okay, this is a puzzle game or whatever, this is what you're going to have. Like, it had to flip over the DS screen to, like, do the stamp and all those other little cool little things. It had the bloody microphone thing. I swear, like, Nintendo should have just scrapped the microphone from it. I'm dying every time I'm even touching that, and I can't even blow into it, and then it doesn't do anything, and then I throw the DS, and then road rage. But, like, it pioneered all those cool little, oh, this is a device, we're going to do some cool stuff with it. Sort of like the Wii as well. Like with the Wii, it's like, oh, well, you got a remote and you got a nunchuck. There was a lot of really weird experimental stuff back then as well in that sort of thing from mystery genres. So
now that you've said that, I realize that they absolutely could do the Switch, and there is nothing stopping them. They could do a 1-2 Switch where you examine evidence with the Joy-Con, and it would be amazing.
Oh, I mean, did anyone here play those From Software games, the Echo Knight games?
I've never heard of that.
No one has played, even Matt?
No.
Wow. Okay, I'm the biggest gamer here now. It's me.
From Software, in my mind, has only made Lost Kingdoms and Lost Kingdoms 2, and then whatever is the past generations output.
And the robot games.
#gamer.
Yeah, and also the robot games. No, yeah, Echo Knight's like a weird mystery horror game. It's really weird and very cool. Everyone should play it. I don't think it's legal to play it. It's on like the first two are PS1, and the third one is a space game on the PS2. It's very
just to wrap this segment up. There was one other one that I wanted to quickly mention, and it kind of got lost. Nipponichi announced it, and nobody really paid attention. But they're bringing the Silver Case to the Switch.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the Silver
things now as well.
The Silver Case was one of Goichi Suda's earlier games. It's a very visual novel thing, but it is a dark noir game. Like, it is dark, and it's brilliant. It's absolutely amazing. So definitely check that out. Don't let it go past you when it lands on the Switch later on.
Did we mention Famicom Detective Club?
Yeah, that's coming too.
That was the reason we did this segment.
No, the reason we did this is because of Disco Elysium.
And Disco
we also didn't mention that.
We can't talk about that one because it's been banned in Australia. So,
it has been banned in Australia.
So unfortunately,
so
we
what
can't
you can
talk
do
about
is just make it. What you can do. I'm going to give you a hint to everyone in Australia. There's a feature where you can make a PlayStation Network account on a country that is not Australia. All you need is a PayPal account to buy that game.
I don't think you can do that, actually.
You can't? Wait, really?
Yeah, because PayPal accounts are locked to region. I'm pretty sure that you can't actually...
Or Alan can give us some UK...
yeah, you need someone on the inside.
The
eShop codes.
Yeah.
It is possible to do it. I mean, obviously, I do it all the time because I get codes from America and the UK and whatever. But for reviews, you can set up an account, and then there are plenty of websites out there that sell credits.
I'm sure that if you contacted the developers, Zeum, I'm sure they would be like, oh yeah, like this is maybe a way you can probably play the game.
But anyway, you can set up an account from overseas. Just make sure you turn the VPN on, otherwise the cops will come get you.
Well, it doesn't matter because we're not going to be playing games anymore because Peter Dunn's going to be PM and he's going to ban all games, so it's okay.
Yeah, but I don't think most people...
He's too busy living under my bed and scaring.
I don't think most people know who listen to this podcast know who Peter Dutton is, Trent. So let's go to some music.
The boats.
Let's go to some music. Let's stop with the Australian politicking, and we'll come back.
How's about that scandal?
We'll have a different topic. Music from Disco Elysium. That'll do.
welcome back. So, Matt is playing NieR Replicant 1 point whatever, and that game looks absolutely fantastic. For those of you who don't know what this game is, it is a 2009 RPG, I believe, released by Square Enix, made by what was the company's name? What was the original company's name? Caviar. Yeah, they also made the Drakengard games, like pretty low budgety sort of stuff, but functional, worked pretty well. But this was probably Yoko Taro's first really, I guess, super culty game. Like Drakengard was pretty big, but NieR has cultivated something else entirely, and that's what led to NieR Automata coming out. And now they decided to go back and basically make NieR 1 actually purchasable in a modern context without having to own a physical PS3 or 360 and a copy of the game. And
yeah, because it was one of the few games that never got a release on the PlayStation Store. The only way to play the original NieR is via a disc copy. I'm going to be really just upfront.
You probably wouldn't want to physically play it either. It's probably just better to watch someone else play it and then buy it. I mean,
it's not that. It's not like pathologic hard to play. It's not that bad.
It's like not the best game in the world, but they fixed it. Matt, how have they fixed it? Explain.
It's just not the best game. I'd be interested to see, just first up, whether the fact that NieR Automata came along and was such a big hit, whether that forces people to reassess their thoughts on the original NieR, because that game really does have, it really did not do well with the critics either. So I'm just going to quickly check right now, live on the stream. The stream. Streaming's ruining my brain.
Your stream is ruining your brain now, Matt.
I'm just going to check quickly.
Could you imagine if we streamed this podcast? We'd be like wrecked.
Yeah, so
are you checking the Metascore?
Yeah, the original NieR was 68 on Metacritic. So
that is basically trash in the of video games. That's like essentially you play this and you get physically ill.
Yeah, and I mean that to get that score, you've actually got red scores on Metacritic, 40s and below. There's 3 of those. It was a game that was pretty robustly criticized, let's put it that way. To be fair, the game came out before digitally-downloaded.net was listed on Metacritic, because I would have changed the score a little bit in the positive if I had.
I don't think 110 out of 10 would make it.
I hate to make this joke, but Matt's review would have made it 69.
Hell yeah! Oh, Matt, can you go back in time and do that, please? Please.
I think it's really cute that you think I'm just going to leave it at 100 out of 100, Trent. Because, NieR's the greatest game ever made. But, as we were saying earlier in the podcast, I kind of missed it because of all those reviews. I saw them coming in. They were all quite critical of it. I figured that this was a game I didn't need to play, so I left it on the back burner, and I only got to play it in the end because it was going for $10. And I just needed something to play for a weekend. So I very, very nearly missed it myself, and that would have been crazy because I genuinely do think it is the best game that has ever been made. And I'm just wondering whether the fact that NieR Automata has made it okay to like NieR, if that's going to affect the scores. I think that this game is going to do much better, and not just because they have made it play better. I can't talk too much about the gameplay because the preview is pretty limited in terms of what I can talk about. There are only 3 sections in the game I can really talk around, and I've only played one of them at the moment.
Well, I mean,
but it definitely plays better. I don't know how much better because it has been so long since I played the original NieR, but it definitely plays better. It's not as kind of
it doesn't look clunky.
It's not as dynamic as NieR Automata. There's still the basis of the original game in there, but they have definitely made it more responsive, smooth, and accessible as a game. It's also very pretty now. Very pretty. And the criticisms of the original NieR did include the fact that it looked all kind of washed out and dull.
It was a bloom game.
Yeah, it was in the era of real is brown.
It's very grey, but excuse me. I mean, the thing is, it was deliberately grey. That was kind of the aesthetic fits in with the tone of the game, the theme of the game, what the game's really saying. It needed to look like that. What they've done with this one is not that dissimilar, I think, to what they've done to spruce up Demon Souls, in that they haven't touched the tone of the aesthetics. It still looks very kind of dour, but they have made it cleaner and more visually impressive as a result.
I don't know if you can answer this question, but have they done anything to the soundtrack?
No, they've not touched the soundtrack. Exactly.
Thank God. Okay, good.
I will say I'm taking a risk, I think, saying this. I'm not quite sure if this is covered by embargo or not, but it is very minor, so I'm sure Square Enix will just give me a slap over the wrist if they happen to watch it. The one thing that bugged me so far, the only thing that's bugged me so far, is it doesn't have... When you remember, I mean, did you play NieR, Alan?
I watched a full Let's Play of it because I couldn't get access to a copy.
So when you put NieR in the original NieR in the thing and you boot the game up, the first thing that you have is this wonderful speech by Khan. What's her name? How do you pronounce her name? Kane. Yeah, she has this Kane. She has this really amazing little speech where she just abuses the shit out of the book.
God damn you whites, you piece of shit! I'm gonna get your ass out of here.
Yeah, they removed that.
Why? That's good.
From the intro. I can't talk about anything else, but. Yeah, I like that start, and they haven't done that for this one. But
I mean, it tells everything you need to know about Kane. She's great.
Yeah, she is amazing. But yeah, the game itself, the music hasn't been touched. It's an incredible soundtrack. I actually prefer the soundtrack to NieR Automata's soundtrack. Not that that's, I mean,
both are very good.
You're talking about two of my favorite soundtracks of all time anyway. But yeah, the soundtrack of NieR is just something special to me, and they've maintained that. My favorite song from it, and I can't talk about it because it's actually part of the preview thing. My favorite song in NieR is When You're in the Junkyard, and it's got that kind of industrial kind of.
It's the most NieR Automata song in that whole game.
Is it though? Is it?
It feels very similar to something that you'd hear in NieR Automata.
Anyway, it does have this really strong industrial beat to it, and. Yeah, for the scene that you're playing through, it's absolutely spot on. But I think the thing that people will be surprised about with NieR, if they haven't played it originally, is just how dynamic it moves between different gameplay styles. Because NieR Automata did it a little bit, but toned it down, I think. I mean, NieR Automata had the shmup section, which was quite good, and that. But NieR actually has, like,
the visual novel section, yeah.
Visual novel sections. NieR has like top-down shooter sections. Nowhere. It has all these really. It was. I mean, my read on it was that it was Yoko Taro kind of experimenting with gameplay as a thing, and just seeing how different forms of gameplay can work towards a particular theme that he was trying to explore through the main story. And yeah, it definitely is eclectic. That's a good word. It's eclectic. And I think that'll surprise people when they play NieR, this remaster. But yeah, they haven't touched it too much, really. It's pretty much the same game.
Can I ask, what is the... Oh, sorry.
No, you go for it.
What is the mood that you need to be in for this game? Like, do you need to be in a certain mindset to want to take in existential themes? Because I know that Automata, you could kind of turn that side off and just do fun robot fights. But
I think NieR is a much more focused game that I do think that you will get much more out of it if you're in the mood to be a bit reflective on it as you play. It certainly has a lot of Yoko Taro style humor and surrealism running through it. It's got the book for one thing. The book
does
is
have a
great.
book who is probably one of my favorite voice acted characters in any video game ever, because it's just Liam O'Brien being grumpy.
No, it was amazing because it was like Liam O'Brien was told to be Alan Rickman, and that's what he nailed. Like, he just did. And it's perfect. Like, that book is...
Stop pounding me.
It's great. So it does have plenty of that humor, but it is very dense in its themes as well. It is very existential. It's very philosophical. Although if you ever talk to...
If you ever talk, Matt's trying to say politely.
if you ever talk to Yoko Taro, he absolutely insists that he hates philosophy. And he constantly craps on it, but
which is why he named all his characters in Automata up.
Yeah. But he absolutely loves it. It's quite clear, and he definitely explores a lot of kind of very dense ideas in it. So to answer your question, you can enjoy it on any level, but I think you will get more out of it if you're in the mood to engage with it on that level.
That's interesting because I think that the games as a whole have evolved in the last 12 years so that kind of experience is more acceptable and understandable, I guess. Whereas I think
Do
on
you
the
think
PS2,
I would
PS3,
suggest not? I don't know.
I know Disco Elysium is pretty like well regarded and loved, and like the whole thing of like, oh, this game is so deep, dude. There's a part where people die and they get hurt, and it's sad. I mean, like that's at least some dialogue that's better than just I'm gonna go on deathmatch on Rust or something and just shoot people with a Beretta. Like that's better than it was.
Yeah, but on the other hand, we've got stuff like Last of Us 2 being celebrated as being some kind of great narrative,
like,
and it's totally not.
Like, isn't just like man with gun go shoot bang.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be really interested. I think the thing that I'm most interested about with regards to NieR is just how people respond to it this time around, because I suspect it's going to be different. I think NieR Automata legitimized NieR, but
because it was fun. That's why. It's literally the only reason why is because people didn't play it and go like, banned game, games suck, no play.
See, the problem with NieR Automata is I wanted more of like the village thing and the tree people and stuff like that, and the like cool, fun like circus.
No,
like,
you don't get
theme
fun.
park.
No,
No,
Like,
fun is banned.
that was cool. Like the rest
did you
of the
actually
game
get to the bit what happened to them?
Yeah,
Trent?
do you know what happens to them, Trent?
Because it wasn't exactly fun.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
like
got
the
like
least
kids.
fun part of that game.
So I got into the pit, and I found out that it was Earth all along. I don't
You
know.
did not get to the bit that we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a
Are we
good way
gonna
to
spoil a
describe
game from 2017?
I
We're
think
gonna
I
do
got
that?
out of the pit, and then I rise as Batman, and then
Right. You know what? For the next minute and a half, no one's allowed to listen to the podcast. So if you've not played NieR Automata, this is where you have to just mute for a bit, and I don't know. I'll do a dance that you can't see, so you know it's safe. Basically, Trent, your favorite village, they commit suicide.
oh well,
And
Matt's
it's
probably
really
spoiled it
bad.
before. Yeah,
Because they feel fear for the first time. It's the only reaction that they have.
yeah, but it's like cool story like stuff. Like that's what I wanted more of. Like not necessarily villagers committing suicide, but like more of that reflective.
Yeah, and then the best part about that is when Pascal asks you to either wipe their memory or to kill them as well. And you have to make the choice of whether it's better to like have her forget everything and keep living or join them. And then you go and you buy stuff from her later on if you wipe her memory, and she's just like selling the body parts of the people of the village to you. And you can just buy them. And it's really dark, and it's Yoko Taro doing his best. This is the end of the spoiler bit.
So we go back to NieR. I think, one thing the religious elements that were running through NieR Automata are nowhere near as explicit, I think, in NieR. Because, NieR Automata was pretty...
Everything's about God.
theological. It was pretty theological. It was just because it was definitely exploring.
There's no gods or kings, only men, and it annoys me that it became that at one point.
Yeah, all those robots, all those robots, kind of exploring what it is to be humanity via spirituality. It was pretty on the nose. I think NieR is a little bit more subtle about some of the stuff that it explores without giving away spoilers or talking about it.
It's also more like traditional, I'd say, as well, because it's more like a fairy tale game. It's Yoko Taro doing a fairy tale thing, but extending it and making it his own.
Yeah, I think it definitely resists being categorized as anything, really. It's more just Yoko Taro being Yoko Taro.
Keeping in mind, this is the man who tried to sell NieR Automata by rolling around on the floor and shouting NieR Automata t-shirt. This
Yoko
dude
Taro's
does
Ni no
not
Kuni.
give a shit.
But it's certainly smart. It's certainly
Yeah.
smart, very smart. But yeah, I think
It's a game that everyone should play, and I'm excited people are going to have the chance to play it, and I'm going to have the chance to play it for the first time ever.
I think
and
you're going to like it, Alan.
I'm excited beyond belief. I'm
really-
buying it on day one because it's what date does it come out again? 25th?
Yeah, something like that.
25th. Yeah, I'm going to buy that on day one, and I will be streaming it probably. So, yeah.
You should write the study guide.
Oh God, no! You do not want me writing things about anything.
You should give it to your students, Alan. You should force them to play it,
because
and then have analysis sessions.
Look, we've done Beowulf at the moment, right? And that was enough for them to be
Are
like,
you serious? That's awesome. I like
Yeah.
Beowulf. That's a good.
For primary school.
And what it means though, and it's really difficult to explain what Grendel's doing when he's eating people. Because they're like, what does this word mean? And I don't know how to explain it without potentially getting letters from parents. Anyway, NieR's good. So we're gonna do some music. I can't do NieR before we pick NieR.
Well, we can do NieR Automata music. Do the village for Trent. Do the village, the happy village music for Trent.
And then we do the sad village ending music to end out the podcast.
And welcome back. So, now that everything's beginning to sort of open up a little bit more, party games are beginning to return. Thank the Lord, because it has been too long. And I'm really glad that there actually are like a pretty good variety of them out at the moment, and ones that a lot of people can really get into. Of course, it goes without saying the Jackbox games are pretty universally renowned as extremely good fun party games to have on in the background.
And there's a new one coming, isn't there?
There's a new one.
There's always a new one coming out.
It's every year. It's great. But yeah, there's like a whole bunch of new party games like out and about at the moment that I think are genuinely worth like a lot of attention. One of them actually, if you've ever played Mashed, has anyone here played Mashed?
What is Mashed?
PS2 racing game where the point was not to like do a lap time, but to outrace other people on the track. It was sort of like Micro Machines, but realistic. It was
How
very
do we
cool.
access it?
You cannot ever.
Why do you do this to us?
Look, I thought you were gonna say there was like based off a TV show Mash, but like a video game, like Mash the video game, and
That would be the
have you
worst
played
party
Mash?
game. Extremely bad party game.
Yeah, that would be a terrible party game.
That sounds like a horrible time. Yeah. No, like it's a there's a game called Party Crashes, which is made in Tasmania and is also on sale on PSN right now, as is Party Golf, which is the predecessor. But Party Crashes is basically a 4-player racing game where every match you play is completely different. And the rules are different, the car models are different, items will be completely different, properties will be different. So it's completely customizable for everything. And one of the best things about that is that no one can be a tryhard and make the party game not fun. Because as someone, if you're like me and you play a game like Smash Brothers, you go into that to win and you ruin it for everyone else in the process.
That's some real self-awareness. Most Smashers don't have that.
Yeah, but most people in the Smash community also practice the wrong type of grooming. So like,
The
uh,
cool
so
thing, actually, so that Party Golf Party Crashers team are ridiculously cool. Like, I remember going
it's so
to
lovely.
PAX and they were there and they made neon shirts to promote their games and they were just like friendly with everybody. And that's exactly what you expect people who make a game that conducive to parties
Yeah, they
to be like. They're
understand
just great
what
people.
they are.
I mean,
Yeah, and they're
the thing
chill.
is, these games kind of highlights, I think, a challenge that party games have to overcome, and that is that just how many people are going to be playing them, in the sense that how good does your gaming have to be? Because I mean, if you think about it, like, party games should be accessible to pretty much everyone, right? Like, in theory.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
a lot of these games that we're talking about here are more for people who have a background in gaming, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, one of my favorite party games personally is Screen Cheat, which is also an Australian game, funnily enough.
Also fantastic.
Also great fun, and
Also on the Switch.
yep, or in Screen Sheet, you can't actually see any of the. It's like a split screen shooter, but you can't actually see where the players are on the screen. Like, you can't actually see in your little section of the screen the other player avatars. You've got to work out where they are by looking at their part of the screen, and it's just kind of it's all
it
it's
legitimizes
bedlam.
playing GoldenEye in 1999.
Yeah, it's
and
bedlam,
being addicted
but
to your friends.
to actually enjoy that game, everybody who's playing it kind of needs to be a gamer as such.
You need to know FPS controls, which, as I
Yeah.
learned from playing it, it's not assumed for everybody.
And it goes the same for, we take it for granted that we know how to play racing games, for example, but not everybody does. So you're immediately kind of excluding people from your party game if it is racing based. And again, that's not an issue in the sense that if you can get a bunch of people together who do have a basic idea of gaming, then that's great. But the question I always have with party games is just where do you pitch them, and for what kind of audience? Do you want to go the Jackbox kind of way where absolutely everybody can pick it up regardless of how many games they've played? I mean, for me, one of the party games that I've ended up playing the most over the years was the Buzz games, and that was because
They are just quiz games.
my family, we had non-gamers in the family. My parents, for example, they're not really gamers. So, but that was one that they could sit down and we could all enjoy as a family, because you didn't have to have any gaming knowledge whatsoever to play them. So I've always wondered with party games, as a developer, when I'm thinking about how developers think about games, how do they go about pitching these things, and how do they design them, and what are they thinking about, and in terms of their audience when they're creating these games?
I have a good example on that, actually. So I have a lot of party games. My favorite thing to do is to download stupid games on the Switch and to force people to play them. And
You
know
sound
this.
like a hoot, Harvard.
Yeah. Harvard's the guy who comes to a party, brings his Switch, and says, "All right, we're playing Super Mario Party. Everyone,
We're playing Kukiyomi 2, consider it more.
Nothing's
What?
wrong with Super Mario Party. That's a fun Switch game, especially
Yeah.
if you play it over and over and over and over and over and
I've had
over
that
again when
experience,
you're
yeah.
babysitting.
So I think that the stress with party games is like sometimes you'll put something on and you'll think it will be fun for everyone, and then everyone else is like, nah, I'm not into this, fam. And so the game that I had the opposite reaction to, where I thought it wasn't going to be fun, and then everyone else just got really into it, is this game called Drink More Glurp, which is by, amazingly, I think, Yogscast. And the premise of this
Oh,
game
no.
is that it's the Olympics by aliens who have just watched human sports and have trying to reconstruct what the appeal of sports is. So you have these balls with two arms, and you have to run in completely incorrect Olympic events, like marathons and dodgeball and pachinko and just stupid games. And every game is sponsored by a company, and that company will affect how your game works. For example, like one sport, you'll be sponsored by rocket shoes, so everyone has rocket shoes. And the way that it works is because it's such a stupid, awkward game that everyone is struggling with the controls the entire time. So it becomes like competitive co-op, basically. Like,
Yeah,
it's
it
just
needs to
goofy
be-
and awkward and fun.
It definitely needs to have either that sort of complexity where after a while everyone sort of starts to get it, or it has to be just so impossible that everyone is screwed and that everyone's in that same playing field of just like not knowing what's happening. And I think one of the best ones for that is kind of Duck Game, because that game is pretty funny because someone who has no idea what they're doing can still inadvertently kill you, and it can be like a complete fluke and hilarious, and it's great.
I think that's
And
what Sakurai wanted Smash to be, and then people ruined
then
it.
he made Smash, yeah.
Well, I mean, the
Well,
original Smash
it's-
was the original Smash was not a game that you would take seriously by any means.
No,
I think,
because you pick Kirby and you walk off the stage with someone in your mouth and you win.
yeah, exactly. No, I actually thought I think I've said this on the podcast before. I actually thought the first two Smash games were the better ones, not because they were better games as such, but because they were just more enjoyable. The most recent Smash is just it tries too hard. Like it tries to be this fighting game that you can take seriously, and it's just exhausting to play as a
No,
result.
it's not Tekken. Nothing
I-
is Tekken. But I would also say that Tekken is a better party game than Smash. Because Tekken is instantly understandable, whereas Smash has like a whole bunch of shit going on that you don't understand. You pick someone in Tekken and they're like, oh, they punch with fist. And
I
they
will
kick.
say that Tekken's a really interesting one because it is a very complex fighting game
That
in
is a
itself.
DAE game.
But-
That is a yeah.
But what the developers have done so well is they've made it so that people who just want a button mash can still enjoy it. You know,
It's still fun to kick people.
yeah,
like,
exactly.
It
And
looks good and it feels good.
that's a rare kind of fighting game indeed, because most fighting games are either, they aim to be completely accessible and undermine their complexity as a result, or they don't even try.
One of my favorite memories.
If you're playing BlazBlue, for example,
God.
you're a fighting game fan through and through. Or if you're playing Mortal Kombat, it's not really a game that you can. Although they have tried in more recent editions, but traditionally Mortal Kombat has not been a game that you really kind of try to take seriously.
The thing is, though, Mortal Kombat sort of isn't a good party game because it is so violent. You know,
Yeah,
like,
you got to be a certain kind of group to enjoy Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat. Everybody's
Like-
got to be on board with it. It's like if I was to, I mean, Dead or Alive, for example. I love Dead or Alive.
party.
You don't. It would not make a good party game for our context, because that game you need to be in a specific mindset to enjoy. And if you've got a group of people together that all like fan servicey games, then sure, Dead or Alive is a great time. But if even one person in the group doesn't, then it kind of falls on its face. So again, I think Tekken is a good example of a game that appeals to a lot of people. I think Soul Calibur is another one. Soul Calibur is a good fighting game as a party game.
I think Soul Calibur is as close as you can get to that sort of fan servicey line.
Yeah,
without
it doesn't
passing it.
over. It's not going to offend pretty much anybody. I think it has fan service, but it's just
It has booby lady. Yeah.
it does it in a way that's tolerable for people to enjoy in a party setting, I think.
It's important to know that this. I don't want this to just turn into me saying Tekken really, really good, but the best thing about Tekken is the fact that you have like super serious martial arts characters. You have people who are into MMA will look at that game and say that's cool as hell. You'll have
Lucky
like,
Chloe.
yeah.
Lucky
You'll have
Chloe.
like a completely different demographic, like my friends in college who were sort of 19, 18, 20-year-old girls looking at that and thinking, wow, Asuka's really, really cool. She's beating the shit and she's got some like cool stuff going on. That's awesome. And then picking Asuka. And then you have the idiots who will see a man who is a robot with a mohawk and say, hell yeah. And then you'll have me who sees Bear and says, yeah.
Did they solve the Turtle?
The turtle?
This is Turtle character who, like,
You mean
instead of
Gon?
kicking, I think so. He just spins around forever.
Yeah, that's
And
gone.
I have a childhood memory where I had a friend who owned the game and he was really good at it, and I would just lose to him all the time. Except whenever I played Gon and just did nothing but spin around, he was like, "Stop doing that! I can't beat you if you do this." And I was like, "This is a fun experience now."
Yeah.
But,
No,
yeah, I
like
mean,
there's
I'm-
no characters that are actively like bad in that game either, which is why I think it's so good as a party game. Like you can play Eddie Gordo as someone who's never played Tekken before and have a great time because spin to win. But if you know anything about Tekken, you can easily stop it. But then also like it's funny. It's funny to see your friend who has no idea what they're doing figuring out some like 7-hit combo by accident because they got excited hitting like triangle a bunch. Like it's great. That's like one of my favorite party games is because you can have that extra super like mega lord nerd lord like sort of detail that I'm now trying to go for, but you can also like jump in there, pick a random character and chances are you're not going to have any idea what to do with it. So you're on basically the same playing field as someone else jumping in with a new character as well. Because I can guarantee to you right now, if I like picked King, I'd probably beat you. If I picked anyone else, you'd probably be able to beat me pretty confidently. Like, that's just how Tekken works, and I love that about the game. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Tekken is still a game that is very much, you need to be a gamer to enjoy in the first place. It's still no. I definitely. I mean, I can guarantee you, dude. You gave Tekken to my parents, and they'd be like, "What the hell is this?" You know, it's definitely a game for people who do enjoy video games.
I'm more thinking in terms of like people around my age, people who I'd go to a party with at my age, because I wouldn't bring out a video game stop with anyone like in my parents' friend group. You know.
Well, I mean, it's still. I think the thing with fighting games are they do make for good party games because they are pretty entertaining. They're kind of short, so it's easy to play, in small bursts, and it's easy to share controllers around. Everybody can get a go and stuff. I do think that fighting games work as party games, but again, it's still within the context of it's got to be a group that's kind of on board with games.
There has to be at least one fighting nerd. There also has to be one MMA nerd in the same room to instantly be like, oh yeah, let's talk about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's just what it has to be sometimes.
Or someone who has swords. I have a sword collection.
Oh my
I'm gonna stab you.
There's at least one Yoshi player in every friend group, and they're a piece of...
One thing I will say, I mean, I think one thing that's kind of missing from the Switch still to an extent is the last couple of generations with both the Wii and the Wii U, Nintendo's done a really good job of giving games to people that everybody can enjoy. I mean, everyone knows Wii Sports was a game that everybody could pick up and enjoy. And even the Wii U, the Nintendo Land had stuff that was a lot of fun in groups. The Luigi Mansion style one.
Oh, that was a great game.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We spent a lot of time playing that. I don't see so much of that stuff on the Switch in itself.
Which is really disappointing because of the whole controller. Like, the original concept was like, oh, I'm going to take my Switch out. We're going to be on a basketball court. Here's a controller. I've got a controller.
And it seems to be like Nintendo seems to be more focused on creating those multiplayer experiences for people who have a kind of gamer background. Like Splatoon is a lot of fun, of course, but you still got to be competent with games, to get anything out of Splatoon. Smash Brothers is fun, but Smash Brothers is a game that you've got to be a gamer to play. I don't see where the and they've done some good kind of fitness stuff or whatever for single players like Ring Fit Adventure or the boxing one. Those are perfectly entertaining, but they're kind of solo experiences. I just wonder where the local multiplayer kind of experience from Nintendo has gone.
Did you ever play 1-2 Switch, Matt?
I mean, yes, but it was more a tech demo than a...
It was, but it's also like not a game. It's something you inflict on people for fun.
Yeah, so. It's not really what I'm talking about in this context. I know. I would just like to see Nintendo have that kind of keep that local multiplayer. I mean, I guess Mario Party kind of does it, and certainly you look at Mario.
Not put any effort into that since it came out, and they needed to put a lot of effort into that game when it came out.
Well, Mario Party is like one of the most high selling games on the Switch. So
I know it doesn't make any sense, and they're not supporting it.
Well, it doesn't make perhaps it doesn't make sense, Alan, because it's not for you.
It's also not a games as a service game, so it doesn't need to be supported.
But there was 4 maps in that game, 5 maps, and they're all the same. I played it once at a mate's place.
They're not all the same, but
it was like Mario Party came out, and I was like, hell yeah, let's play Mario Party. So I went over and the mini games were fine, but the maps were not entertaining enough. There wasn't enough bullshit. And I don't know about you, but I love bullshit.
Yeah, I think that the maps are fine for the kind of audience that would be playing Mario Party, which is just a general audience that just want to pick up a game and play. And I think that's the thing that a lot of to go back to what we've been talking about. I think a lot of kind of party games or multiplayer games that you play in party settings or whatever, they kind of lose sight of that fact that not everybody wants to sit down and really master a game. They just want to play something in a party setting.
Can
These
I
are my
pivot
thoughts
to-
anyway.
oh, sorry.
But also, Mario Party's like too long though. That's my issue as well. Is that Mario Party, you need 4 people who are dedicated to
Yeah, Mario Party's
playing
an
that game
event.
for like
It's not like
an
a
hour
casual thing.
game. That's like a board game. It's like you don't invite people over to have a party and also maybe play Mario Party. You invite people over to play Mario Party. You know?
Yeah, I mean that
Should be on the box.
That is true, but that applies to board games in general, and I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I think
I
that
mean-
if you invite me over to a party and you're like, hey, do you want to play Catan? I'd probably be like, I don't have the time to play Catan, and also I'm drunk. It's like,
Yeah, maybe you just have a different thought about parties.
Yeah, but
I
if
mean-
you're like, I'm
I'm
drunk,
such a
let's play
rich
Mario
dude.
Party. That's suddenly more fun because you're like, I'm gonna steal your motherfucking stars. Like that's like Mario Party when you're drunk. But like, I feel like Nintendo's definitely like let go of the whole concept they originally had with those like you could share the Joy-Con. Like, I don't think there's been enough multiplayer games which utilize the fact that you can just take a Switch somewhere. Here's a Joy-Con. Let's play a game.
There
And
are,
be
just
fair-
Nintendo's not making it.
yeah.
I don't know
There's
about
like
you
Three
guys, but like,
Towers, there's like Kukiyomi, but
Oh!
just there's such
Three Towers.
indie, they're really relying on indie developers to do it, and the problem is that the quality is so inconsistent. You'll Google party game on the Switch, and half of them will be good and half of them will be bad, and you'll never know until you put it into a social situation.
yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I will
because,
say as
like
well.
snippet clips say like ended up just buying that like game and like finishing it off. Like it's not a Nintendo game, it's just some random indie game. Like there's a lot of games where it's like that and it's really annoying because Nintendo should have really just ridden the concept hard.
I still think the best party game on the Switch is the Bomberman one. I think the Bomberman
Yeah.
on Switch is excellent.
I would accept that. It
Absolutely
is simple enough
excellent.
where you can play it and instantly understand it, but also
Oh, I've
complex
se-
enough
I've
you can
seen
get
I've
into
s-
mind games and shit.
yeah,
Like,
no,
it's great.
I've seen Bomberman work on completely casual audiences who've never played video games before, but you put a controller in the hand, just explain how to play Bomberman in like 2 sentences, and they're there. They've got it. Like it's one of those ones that you can instantly understand everything you need to know about the game just from looking at it. And I think that is something where a lot of indie developers miss out. There's so much assumed knowledge that a lot of indie developers have because they're gamers themselves. They just assume that people will be able to figure things out. And in a party setting, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
In a
There's a
party
really
setting,
good-
you've got to understand what the game is and what it's asking you to do instantly, absolutely instantly. And that's to go back to Screen Sheet or whatever. You need to have somebody explain Screen Sheet to you. You need to have somebody explain fighting games, which I do think are good, but only in a certain setting.
I don't think you need to explain Tekken though, because it's
You do.
it's
You
very
100%
clear what it is.
do. Nah,
You don't need. No, you
you
just
hun-
say there are 2 buttons for punch, 2 buttons for kick. Go.
no, it just doesn't work that way.
Who is inviting a bunch of people over and playing Tekken and the people
Me! I
the
did
people
that.
who have invited are like non-gamers. Like who is doing
Yes,
this?
me.
Like
That's a very 90s sentence to say. People are inviting people over to play Tekken. Extremely
Yeah.
90s.
Again, you can play as a bear. It doesn't matter.
No, it's
Like,
great. Tekken's great, and again, in a context, it works really well for a party game. But it's not. It's not pick up and play. It is not. No, it's far too esoteric.
Everyone should play the new DLC for Tekken because it has a really cool lady who knows karate, and she's really cool. And also, the karate is like legit.
Can I
So-
pivot for something though? I think another really useful way to do party games is to have a shared experience with friends. So my example would be the recent Dark Pictures game had this
Yeah!
pass controller mode where it was a horror game, but whenever the character perspective shifted, you would give the controller to someone else and they would be responsible for that person. And
One
it
of
was
my
kind of like
favorite
you're
things
collaborating on the story. And if one person screws up and gets everyone killed, then like
Actually,
it's a social situation.
I will say that
Until
one of the best party and the most interesting and innovative party experiences I've had in a long time was Sony of all companies on the PS4. Remember that when they had that brief moment where they wanted everybody to kind of interact with games through mobile phones as well?
That's something. What's it called? That's live.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that one. They did this mystery one where I can't remember what it's called, Hidden Agenda or something. And it was like
Yeah.
this crime game or this kind of story-driven thing. And then at certain points, everybody would input the response they wanted the character to make. And whichever response got the most inputs would be the one that happened as the story played out. So everybody was there trying to figure out what they wanted to see happen next, and it was this really interesting kind of party game experience. It was almost like watching a movie, but at points, and like a visual novel thing, but rather than making one decision, it was like this crowdsourced decision process. It was really good. Hidden Agenda, I think it was.
Yeah,
I wish
Hidden
Sony,
Agenda, 2017.
yeah, I wish Sony had stuck with that, because I thought that was actually a pretty good idea. Like, it would
Yeah,
be
I
nice.
wish they'd
It would have been
explore
nice
that
to see
baseball.
explore. Yeah.
This was also a Supermassive Games game, so it's the exact same thing as Until Dawn. And
Yeah, it was
Dark
just like that
Pictures.
stuff. Yeah, exactly. That's right. It was a Supermassive Games thing, but it was more explicit about the multiplayer experience, whereas those ones are more kind of single player driven. I know you can play them multiplayer, but they are more single player driven. Anyway, that was an example of party game that anybody could pick up and play and enjoy instantly. And
I mean, we can also go down this route then of playing a horror game in a group of people, because that is also a grand time.
I
One of
think
my
horror-
favorite experiences
think
ever
horror-
is
yeah.
playing things like Resi 7 for the first time with like 7 other people in my room, and we were all just shitting ourselves and drinking and having a great time and laughing. Like, it was just a great time. Like, that sort of experience cannot be sort of denied. And it's not necessarily really co-op. It's more just like, it's co-op through experience rather than co-op through active play. And I kind of really like that.
yeah,
'Cause
horror
it
games.
it removes that barrier.
Horror games are often single player, but they are always better enjoyed in groups, I think. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I've played a couple of horror games in the past around people, and it's always been more fun. Yeah, I agree. I haven't played Resident Evil 7 in a group, but
It's very good. It's very fun. Yeah. Well, shall
On
we
that
wrap it
note,
up there then?
yeah.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up
Yeah.
there then. Well, what are we thinking for music? Should we do some Resi 7 music? Because Resi 8's coming out in a couple of months.
no, we should do the theme song for Wii Sports.
Everyone my age knows it instantly.
Yeah,
It's like,
let's do that. Let's finish with that. We're finishing with the music from Wii Sports.
yeah, I respect that. All right. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening. Obviously, we'll be back next month with next month's podcast. It's, of course, important to follow us all on our social medias, which I'm sure will be in the links beneath this podcast. Make sure you check out Digitally Downloaded every day for your news, reviews, and previews, especially for Matt's upcoming NieR Replicant review, which I don't know when it'll go up. When will that go up, Matt?
The preview will be up by the time you hear this podcast. The review goes up on launch, just like every other game. So yeah, towards the end of the month.
Make sure you check out that. I'm sure it'll be one of Matt's reviews, which means that it will be in depth and good.
I'll be
So,
aiming for 10,000 word review, no less.
do not,
No.
Matt. I cannot read that. Even I will skim that.
And then also buy all our stuff.
Yeah. Also, buy the mug. Buy the mug. The mug's
Buy
actually
the mug. It's a pretty cool mug. I do like
the
it.
mug's like actually pretty sick. So yeah, do that.
Or the framed copy of the Miku DD, but it's just like $1 billion.
There we go. Anyway, thank you for being on the podcast, of course. Thank you, Harvard. Thank you, Trent. It's always good to have you on. And thank you, Matt, as well. So we will be leaving you with the theme song to Wii Sports, a classic 2006 banger. Hear this in the club. Get it on your pipe and smoke it. Let's go. See you all next